Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
The price of food is going up all over the world. When you go to the supermarket, you can see that your grocery bill is higher. Basic foods like eggs, milk, bread, and rice cost more money now. This is a problem for everyone, but it is a very big problem for people who have less money. They spend a large part of their money just to buy food. Prices usually go up by 1 or 2% each year. Now, in many places, they are going up by 10 or 15%. This is a very big change for families. We hear many reasons for these high prices. People say it is because of inflation. They also say it is because of the COVID-19 pandemic. These things are part of the reason, but they are not the full story. There is something else happening. At the same time that we pay more for food, big food companies are making record profits. This means they are making more money than ever before. The leaders of these companies are also earning much more money. The owners of the companies are getting very large payments. To understand what is really happening, we need to look at our food system. It is a very large and complex system. It is almost like magic. This system brings food from farms around the world to the shelves in your local store. The journey food takes is called the supply chain. It involves many steps and many people. It starts with farmers. Then the food is packaged. It travels on trucks, trains, and ships. It goes to big warehouses and then finally to the supermarket. We must look at this journey to understand the high prices. We also need to look at the big companies that control this system. This will show us the real story behind our expensive food. 2. Food in the past. The story of our food system begins a very long time ago. About 8,000 years ago, in the Middle East, people learned to do something new. They started to grow more food than they needed for their families. This extra food was very important. One group could grow wheat, and another group could have salt. They could trade their extra goods. This simple idea of trading changed the world. Over many years, trade became bigger and bigger. People traveled across deserts and seas to trade things. They built big empires to help move food and other goods between different places. This was not just about moving food. When people traded, they also shared ideas, tools, and new ways of thinking. Trade helped new foods travel around the world. For example, tomatoes from the Americas went to Italy. Chili peppers went to Asia, and coffee went to Europe. These new foods changed how people ate and lived. But for most of history, food was still very expensive. It was not like today. People had to work very hard just to eat and survive. Families spent most of their time and energy growing food or earning money to buy it. For example, in the late 1700s, people in Britain spent about 75% of their money just on food. In France, at the same time, people spent 70% of their money only on bread. For thousands of years, life was a daily struggle to get enough food. This started to change, but it happened very slowly. Food was the biggest cost in everyone's life for a very long time. 3. A new world for food. For a long time, food was very expensive for most people. But after the Second World War, the world started to change. Leaders from many countries, especially the United States, wanted to build a new global system. Their main idea was to connect all countries through trade. They believed that when countries do business together, they are less likely to fight in wars. To make this happen, they needed to make trade easier and more efficient. The old way of moving goods was slow and cost a lot of money. But a few new ideas completely changed how things moved around the world. The most important invention was the shipping container. These are the very big, strong metal boxes we see on ships, trains, and trucks. Before these containers, workers had to move every small bag or box by hand. It took a very long time. With the new containers, one big box full of goods could be moved very easily. A crane could lift the container from a ship and put it directly onto a truck. This saved a lot of time and money, which made shipping goods much cheaper. Another big change was that countries started to use the same systems and sizes for many things. This is called standardization. For example, companies all over the world agreed to use pallets of the same size. Pallets are the wooden platforms used to hold boxes in a warehouse. Barcodes on products also became the same everywhere. When everyone uses the same system, global trade becomes simple and fast. It meant a part made in one country could now easily be used in a machine in another country. Because of these changes, the cost of moving products dropped. This had a huge effect on food. It became possible to buy and sell food from faraway places at a low price. The long journey for food was now much cheaper. As a result, the price that people paid for food in the store went down. This new, connected world made food more affordable for many families than ever before. 4. A tomato's journey. Our food is not like a phone. It is soft and can go bad easily. But does this mean it comes from a local farm? Not always. A lot of our fresh food travels a very long way. Let's follow the journey of one simple food, a tomato. This journey is similar for many other foods you see in the store. The story of our tomato starts on a big farm in Mexico. Workers pick the tomato by hand. But they do not pick it when it is red and ready to eat. They pick it when it is still green and hard. This is very important for its long trip. After picking, the green tomatoes go into a special room. Here they get a gas that will help them turn red at the right time, just before you buy them. Next, the tomatoes are taken to a very big building. Inside, workers sort them and cool them down. They are put onto large pallets and loaded into special cold trucks. These trucks are like big refrigerators on wheels. They keep the tomatoes fresh. The trucks then drive north for many hours to the United States border. At the border, there is a special place just for trucks to cross. They pass through customs to enter the U.S. Sometimes the container with the tomatoes is moved to a new truck with a new driver. Once inside the U.S., the journey continues. The truck travels on big highways for a long time. It goes to a huge warehouse for a supermarket company. At this warehouse, the tomatoes are unloaded and checked. They might be put into smaller packages that you see in the store. Then they are loaded onto another truck. This final truck takes the tomatoes to your local grocery store. This whole trip can take about 9 days and cover more than 1,000 kilometers. Finally, someone at the store puts the red, ready-to-eat tomatoes on the shelf. This long journey is not just for tomatoes. Avocados from Mexico, olives from Spain, and green beans from Kenya all travel far to reach our stores. In many countries, more than half of the fresh fruit and vegetables are imported from somewhere else. 5. When the system stops. The system that brings food to our stores is amazing. It allows us to eat foods from all over the world. But this system is not perfect. It can be fragile. The long journey our food takes has many steps. If there is a problem at any step, it can make our food more expensive. This is the first important reason for higher food prices. These problems are often called shocks to the system. One very common shock is bad weather. For example, a drought happens when there is not enough rain for a long time. This can damage the plants that become our food. In the Mediterranean, a bad drought made it difficult to grow olives. As a result, the price of olive oil went up around the world. In another example, a big freeze in Texas destroyed a lot of citrus fruits, like oranges. When bad weather reduces the amount of food, the food that is left becomes more valuable and its price increases. Shocks can also come from problems with people. The COVID pandemic was a global shock. Many people who work in food factories got sick and could not go to work. In America, meat processing plants had to slow down their work. This meant there was less meat available in stores, and prices for meat went up. War is another kind of shock that affects our food. When there is conflict near important sea routes, ships cannot travel safely. They must take a longer, more expensive journey. This extra cost is added to the price of the food they carry. Sometimes the things needed to move food become more expensive. Trucks, trains, and ships all need fuel. When the price of fuel goes up, it costs more to transport everything, including food. This makes the final price in the supermarket higher for us. There can also be shortages of other necessary items. For a time, it was hard to get enough shipping containers or even cardboard for boxes. Each small problem adds a little more to the final cost. Because our food system is global, a shock in one part of the world can raise prices for everyone. 6. The other reason. Problems along the food's long journey are one reason for higher prices. But this is not the full story. There is a second, even bigger reason. It seems we have been tricked, and some companies are making a lot of money because of it. This part of the story starts during the COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, everyone was talking about supply chain problems. We heard about it on the news all the time. Companies told us that it was hard to get things. They said, "We are having a difficult time and our costs are going up." We are good people, so we understood this. We were ready to accept that prices would be higher for a while. For many years, we were used to cheap food. But the pandemic changed how we thought about prices. Big food companies saw this as a perfect chance. They knew that everyone was expecting higher prices. So they started to raise their own prices. First, they raised them a little. They watched to see what would happen. They saw that people did not stop buying their food. So they raised the prices again, and then again. Normally, if a company makes something more expensive, fewer people buy it. But food is not like a new phone or a new car. It is something we need to survive. So even when the prices went up, people had to keep buying food for their families. The companies used the story about supply chain problems as a reason for everything. It was a simple story that everyone could understand. Because of this story, we all accepted the higher prices without asking too many questions. Food prices that used to go up by only 1 or 2% a year suddenly jumped by 10, 15, or even 20%. But the company's own costs did not go up that much. This difference between their costs and the new high prices became huge profits. These companies started to make more money than ever before. The top leaders of these companies got paid much more money. The people who own parts of the companies, the shareholders, also got very rich. This is the other reason our food bills are so high. 7. The story of the eggs. Let's look at eggs as a clear example. Not long ago, the price of eggs went up very quickly. For many families, eggs became too expensive to buy. Why did this happen? The reason everyone heard was a sickness called bird flu. This flu was a real problem. It made many chickens sick. To stop the sickness from spreading, farmers had to remove millions of hens. We were told that fewer hens meant fewer eggs, so the price had to increase. This story seems to make sense. A problem with supply usually means higher prices for customers. But something else was happening. Let's look at the biggest egg producer in the United States. A bird flu crisis should be a terrible thing for their business. But during this time, the company's profits became huge. The money they paid to their owners increased by 40 times in just 1 year. The company became much richer, while people paid much more for eggs at the grocery store. So, was the supply of eggs really a big problem? The data shows a different story. The total number of eggs available in the country only went down by a very small amount. The supply almost did not change. This small drop was not big enough to cause the very high prices we saw. The story about the bird flu was used to explain the high prices, but it was not the complete truth. This kind of thing happens when one or two companies have too much control over one product. When only a few big companies sell something, they do not have to compete with each other by offering lower prices. They can all raise their prices at the same time. This is true for eggs, and it is also true for other foods like beef and bread. A crisis like the bird flu becomes a good opportunity. They can use the story to raise prices together and make record profits. 8. What we can do now. The situation with high food prices seems difficult, but there is hope. Things are starting to change because people are asking questions. Governments are now looking closely at the big food companies. In the United States, the government is investigating the egg companies. They want to find out if these companies were price fixing. Price fixing is when companies secretly agree to keep prices high. Similar investigations are also happening in other countries. There are also many lawsuits. Some famous restaurants are suing large meat companies. They believe these companies worked together to charge too much for meat. A big turkey producer is also in trouble for a price-fixing scandal. These investigations are a good first step, but many people believe a bigger change is necessary. The real solution could be to break up the giant food companies that have so much power. When one or two companies control an industry like eggs or meat, they do not have to compete. They can set any price they want. Most countries have special laws to prevent this. These laws exist to protect small businesses and consumers. This crisis of high prices is making governments think again about using these laws. They want to make sure prices are affordable for their citizens. We also need to think about how much we depend on our food traveling long distances. When food comes from far away, many things can go wrong and make it more expensive. Because of this, there is a growing interest in local food. Buying from farmers in your own region can help make the food supply stronger. It also supports smaller family businesses instead of just giant corporations. Some governments are also trying new things. For example, the government in Mexico started a program to control the price of basic foods. They made an agreement with farmers and stores to sell a basket of essential goods at a low fixed price. Our modern food system is amazing. It has made food much cheaper than it was in the past, and we have many choices all year. But this system has real weaknesses. We all feel these weaknesses when we go to the grocery store and see the high prices. The system must be fair for everyone. It must work for the people who need to buy affordable food to live, not just for the shareholders of big companies who want bigger profits. What is one thing you think your community could do to help?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.